So okay, we'll start today's session. So good morning to all. So in previous classes, we have discussed about 80186 and 80286 processor. So now we'll discuss about 80386 processor and as well as 80486 also. So all these are comes under 8086 family of processors. Okay, advanced process. So first we'll start with 80386. So okay. So first we'll start with features. So what are the features we have in 80386? So it's a 32-bit microprocessor. So when I say it's a 32-bit microprocessor, so which means it can support 8-bit, 16-bit, and 32-bit operands. Okay. So and as well as what this processor, no, it will be having 32-bit registers, 32-bit internal bus and external bus. All everything will be what 32-bit bit in nature. So your data bus, external internal data bus will be 32 bits, and even your address bus will be 32 bits. So you can calculate your physical memory. So since you have 32 address lines, so the physical memory will be what 2 power 32. So it will be around what 4 GB of physical memory. So we started with 1 MB of physical memory in 8086, and now we are in where 4 GB of physical memory in 80386 processor. Okay. So here's so clock frequency. So clock frequency it is basically it has been rapidly scaled to where 16 megahertz to 33 megahertz. So whereas in case of your 8086, it is only about what 5 to 10. Now it is what 16 to what 32 sorry 33 megahertz. So which means what drastically there is an increase in what clock speed. So obviously what execution time will be reduced. And here we have what 16 byte prefetch queue. So in 8086 we have only 6 byte. Here we have what 16 byte prefetch queue. And since it is advanced process, obviously what the package will increase. So number of pins required or has been increased. So here we have 132 pins, whereas in 8086 we have only 40 pins. So you can just compare that. It will be easy for you to understand and study. And modes. So we have three different modes: real, protector, and the virtual mode. So whereas in your 80286 we have only two different modes: real mode and the protector mode. Here we have what one more additional mode available. So actually this transistor node is usually manufactured with the help of this CHMOS technology. So I think CHMOS something is a very high, very advanced technology used in the fabrication process. So whereas in 8086 it is manufactured using only what HMOS technology. Okay, and in addition to this, the processor node it also has an memory segmentation unit, so memory management unit, which consists of what segmentation unit and paging unit together. So I think this you can just refer your what to say block diagram so that you can understand. So here I am sharing you the block diagram. So you can just refer what are the blocks present here. See, almost it repeats, maybe one or two addition blocks may be included in each architecture. You can just list the units available in this block diagram. What are the difference? So what are the units available? Execution unit, okay. So the default I can just name, okay, because we know that in all the process we'll be having execution unit, bus interface unit. So default whatever process they ask, you can just mention blindly. You can mention bus interface unit and execution unit by default. And other units, no, it depends upon the processor. Okay, so here also we have what 3 units. So we have 3 different function units. So one is your what central processing unit. So which is nothing but execution unit. I call it as execution unit. Second one is, as Karthi mentioned, it is your bus interface unit and memory management unit. So we have totally 3 units in this process. You can also just please make a note of the blocks available in each unit. So it will be easy for you to when you say the points. So just have an overlook of the blocks available in each unit. So as I said previously, we'll be having three main function blocks in this architecture. So I'll see one by one in detail. So as you know, what about 386? So CPU, what are the main functions of a CPU? What are the blocks you observed in CPU? So central processing unit means it consists of what? Two units. In under central processing, we have two units. One is your control unit, execution unit. Other one is an instruction unit. So the execution unit here, no, it has in 80386, it has 8 general purpose registers, and it also, in addition to these 8 general purpose registers, it also has what? 8 special purpose registers. So which means we normally use these registers for handling data. For if it is a general purpose registers, we use it for handling data, and if it is a special purpose registers, we use for calculating your offset address. For this purpose, we use these registers. So and similarly, instruction unit, it is used to what? Decode the opcode bytes, so which are received from your 16-byte instruction code queue. Okay, and actually this instruction unit is followed by a 3 instruction decoder instruction queue. So after decoding the opcode bytes of instructions, so that information, it will be passed to the control section to provide necessary control signals. So all this takes place in this CPU, and remember it's a 32-bit. So which means you can able to perform 32-bit multiplications, divisions. So everything can be executed within what? 1 microsecond by simply using your divide and multiply logic. Okay. So next is your bus interface unit. So is my voice clear? No issues so far. Okay, I think it's if it is fine, I'll proceed. Just I'm ensuring whether it's clear or not. So moving on to your bus interface unit, as the name indicates, always the bus interface unit. What is the purpose of purpose of bus interface unit? So it is used to what? Interface your processor, your CPU, with your memory and I/O devices. Okay. So for what purpose it needs to? It requires it needs to access memory or I/O devices. So obviously, when you need data, you need to contact either memory or I/O devices. When you need to fetch any program, you need to contact you need to get a process with access memory. So for all this purpose, we need a bus interface unit. So obviously to fetch instructions and to transfer data from the code fetcher unit. So the processor will provide some address, data, and control signals through this bus interface unit only. Okay. So here we have something called request prioritizer. So what do you mean by request prioritizer? So this bus control unit section has a request prioritizer. So it is used to actually this, as the name suggests, request prioritizer. It is used to decide the priority of various bus requests. Since in case of multiprocessor configurations where you have n number of processors or devices available, and there is a bus request, and this is a request for bus from many devices. So at that time, what you can prioritize, okay, but the request from various buses. So that is for that purpose. Here we have a separate called bus request prioritizer. Okay, and apart from this, we have a code fetcher unit. So the code fetcher unit, as the name indicates, so it is used for fetching instructions from the memory, while the bus interface unit is not executing any bus cycle. For that purpose, we use code fetcher. Okay, and then we'll move on to instruction pipelining. It's obvious. So all the process from starting from 8086, all the process they have this instruction pipelining concept. And moving on to your MMU, memory management unit. So what is the purpose of memory management unit? Any idea you have? Memory management unit. So here if you see, means memory management unit 80386 has two components. So a segmentation unit and paging unit. So we have two separate components. So the segmentation unit, usually we have two address components in each segmentation. So I know segmentation means obviously what it divides the physical memory into various segments. For that purpose only what we use segmentation. So this segmentation, it uses two address components. One is a segment and offset. So both are used to relocate and share the data as well as your codes. And apart from that, here in this case, we have what segmentation unit. It allows a maximum size of what 4 GB. So that is a total physical memory of your 8086. Okay, sorry, 80386 processor. And in addition to this, it has this segmentation unit in 80386. We have what 4-level protection mechanisms actually. So these mechanisms, they are mainly used to protect and isolate the systems code and data from any application programs. So for that purpose, we also use what this protection mechanisms. Okay. See, actually, whatever topics, so whatever content which I am delivering is just an overview of the processor 80386. We are not going much very deep into the architecture. So if we want to learn much deep about this processor, means it will take 2 to 3 classes for an individual architecture. So that is the fact. So since people since in syllabus it is given as an introduction to advanced microprocessors, we are just having an overview of what are the components present in 80 and all the advanced processors. So okay, next is a paging unit. So we have also had what paging unit. So the paging unit, purpose of this paging unit is it helps to arrange the physical memory in terms of pages, where each page will be of size what 4 KB. Okay. So in addition to that, the paging unit, it converts all the linear addresses into what physical addresses. So for these two purposes, we use what paging unit. Okay. So moving on to next section. So next is your register set. So here also, okay, well, you reach the 386 registers. So you can divide it into what? So broadly you can classify into three general purpose registers, okay, and then special purpose registers. So you can broadly classify into these two types. So actually, if you see, means almost register set will be similar to your 8086, but we can call it as what extended registers. I'll tell you the reason why. So what is the size of the registers available in 8086? What is the size of the registers available in 8086? What is the size of the registers available in 8086? See, am I audible or not? So all the registers in 8086 only we have what 16 bits, but here it is 32 bit. So which means we are extending. Okay, as I'll say. So okay, so we are just extending the register size. So we call it as extended registers. So here we have what general purpose registers and then special segment purpose registers. We'll see each register in detail. And I repeat, so whatever register sets which I am taking, the same register set is are available in 80486. Almost same register set. Okay, there is nothing different except your flag register. So when I teach 80486, I'll be just keeping this register set for 486 because almost all are same. So first we'll start with the general purpose registers. So as you know, okay, general purpose registers. So since it is a 32-bit registers, we can use these registers to hold either an 8-bit data or 16-bit data or 32-bit data. So depends upon your requirement. So whereas your 8086 has the capability to hold only what byte and word size registers. But here we have what byte, word, and double word or even sometimes extended registers. We call the double word size as extended registers. Okay. And if it is an 8-bit or 16-bit registers, you can address just like similar to your 8086 processor. So there's nothing much different. Okay. So in 80, if you see means in 8086 we have different registers like AX, BX, CX, DX, your index registers, SI, DI, and your pointer registers, BP, SP, and then what your flags, flag register, IP. So all these are what 16-bit registers available in 8086. So the same set of registers here it was also available in what 80386. Okay, with with extra with what it added a feature called extended. So the same register set. Just you can just make a look, have a look at it. So all the registers are same with a prefix E added to the existing registers in 8086. So normally 32-bit register only called as what extended register. So and in order to differentiate it from a normal register, we use the prefix E. Okay. So if I want to say like so you know that a 32-bit register corresponding to AX, you can represent as what EAX. Okay. Similarly for other cases also. Okay. So here also we have what so all these are 32-bit registers which are available. So just have a look at this diagram so that you can able to understand much more easier. So this is your register set of your 80386 processor. So you can just have a look at it. So which means you can support 80386 will support what 8-bit data. So 8-bit registers we have 0 to 7 AL or 8 to 15 AH. We have 8-bit registers available. We have 16-bit registers like AX. So from 0 to 15, we can take it as AX, or from 0 to 15, we can take it as what DX like way. So we have 16-bit registers. In addition to that, we have also what 32-bit registers. So that feature only we call it as extended EAX, EBX like that. Okay. So these are different registers available in 80386. So you can just have a look over it. So as the name indicates, what is a EAX? We call it as what accumulator register. So 32-bit means we use it as what EAX. 16-bit means we use it AX, and 8-bit means either AH or AL. So and you can use this register for multiplication, division, input, output operations, shift operations. For all these operations, we use this register. And EBX is nothing but your base register. So for 32-bit base register is EBX. 16-bit means BX. And 8-bit means BH and BL. As I mentioned previously, this base register it is mainly used as a pointer to base address in data segments. And moving on to a counter register, CX. So if it is a 32-bit means we have ECX, 16-bit means CX, and 8-bit means either CH or CL. And as you know, counting register is used for what? Counting, rotates, and shift operations in any loop. And last comes your data register, so EDX. So 16-bit available DX, and 8-bit means either DH or DL. And again, this is also used for multiplication, division, input and output operations. So these are different registers which are available. And apart from that, we have a base pointer EBP, 32-bit, and 16-bit is BP. So base pointer, what is the purpose? It is used as a pointer to base address in stack segment. And source index, destination index. So both are available in 32-bit and 16-bit, ESI, SI, EDI, DI. So again, the purpose is what? Index pointer and sourcing string and destination string respectively. Stack pointer, we have 32-bit stack pointer, ESP, SP for stack operations. Instruction pointer, EIP, IP, so instruction offset to hold, it is used to hold the instruction offset. And last flag. So it is used for what? For processor status. Okay, so these are different registers which are available in 8086. So actually, in addition to these two registers, so we have how many segment registers we have in 8086? How many segment registers we have in 8086? So the most basic question which is always asked. So we have 4 segment registers in 8086. So here in this case, so besides the above, okay, Swati, it's correct. So before the about 32-bit registers, the 8086 it also has what, two new 16-bit registers, so called as GS and FS. So actually, we'll be having totally 6 segment registers. So already we have 4 ES, DS, ES, SS, and in addition to that, we also have what, FS and GS. So actually, these FS and GS registers, actually they are additional what, extra segment registers. So which allows to access what, 6 different segments, okay, in memory. So without reloading a segment registers. For those, we can also use what, FS and GS similar to ES, okay. And we have something called 32-bit EIP. So you know what is memory EIP, instruction at instruction pointer. So if you have noticed, no, the instruction pointer of 8086 and 80286 can support only what, program segments of 64 KB. But in this case, no, the extended EIP, no, it is registers is able to support programs up to what, 4 GB. So that is the difference. Main thing you have to make a note of it. Okay. So and CS registered enables larger programs and its content can be changed and with the help of this under program control. Okay. So that's one difference which I want to just specify. Okay, and moving on to your stack segment and stack pointer. So this is almost same. So each program will have a stack segment. So even in 8086, the stack, it goes downwards and the value of the stack pointer decreases with execution of what, push instruction, and increases with execution of what, pop instruction. So same is the case here also in 80386 processor. So when the data is stored on the stack, the value of the ASP will be decreased by 4, and the value of the 386 processor, no, it will always writes a double word or what, by 4 bytes. Okay. So remember, it's an 32-bit. So for each bit, what, so word, so it means it will be either decremented or auto incremented, auto decremented by 4. Okay. So so you have to remember that. So control registers. Apart from this, we have something called control registers. So 80386 processor has 4 32-bit control registers. I have a diagram. So later I'll show you the entire registers together. So 80386 processor, it has 4 control registers named as CR, control register not to control register 3. So the main purpose of these control registers are used to hold your global machine status. So I think you remember what is the machine status. So actually the machine status flag is available only from 80286. Here also we have the machine status flag. So we'll see later. In later slides, we can just explain you what is machine status, global machine status. And apart from that, here also we have what, instructions available for load and store instructions. Okay. So which means same instruction will perform load as well as what, store operations. Okay. So in addition to this, these control registers are also used to perform what, memory management, cache enable, disable, and enable or disabling your protecting mode. So for all this purpose also we use this control registers. And then moving on to your debugging register. Okay. So here also we have what, 8 32-bit debugging registers. So named as DR0 to DR7. So we have 8. These are mainly used for what, hardware debugging purposes. Okay. So among these 8 debugging registers available, so 2 registers, this DR4 and DR5. You can just make a note of it. Among this, among the 8 debugging registers, so the 2 registers DR4 and DR5 are usually reserved by Intel. Reserved by what, Intel. So which means you have only 6 remaining 6 to use. Okay. So under the 6, no, the first 4 registers DR0 to DR3, they are used to store your 4 program control breakup point addresses. This is used to store the control breakpoint addresses. And the 4, 5, as I said previously, they are reserved by Intel. And remaining we have 6 and 7. They are used to hold the breakpoint control and breakpoint status informations respectively. So we'll see later what is breakpoint and break controller status in the. So, so moving on to next type of registers that is available is test registers. So here also in 8036 we have 2 test registers named as TR6 and TR7. So these registers, no, they are mainly used for by the processor for the page catching. Okay, so TR6 we usually call it as what, test control register, and TR7 it is mainly used for what, status control test status register. And coming to a last type of registers, I think we have one more. Sorry, system address registers. So here in 80386 it has 4 system address registers. So actually these 4 registers, no, they are used to refer to the descriptor table. Okay. So what are the 4 different types which are available in 80386 are these are the 4. So global descriptor table, GDT, IDT, LDT, and TSS. So these are different. Actually, the main purpose of these registers, okay. It is used to hold the system address and segment addresses, okay, of these tables. So we'll see next slide. Okay, so as I said previously, the system address. So remember, the system address and the segment registers, no, they are used to hold the address of these descriptor tables, GDT, IDT, LDT, and TSS, and their respective segments. So, and the register which are used to hold these addresses, we call it as what? Correspondingly, we call it as what? GDTR, IDTR, LDTR, and TR respectively. Okay, which means when I say GDTR, so it means what? This register holds the address of the descriptor table GDT. So we call it as what? GDTR. So normally the GDTR and IDTR registers are together. We call it as what? System address. Whereas your LDTR register and TR registers are usually called as what? System segment registers. And this is the diagram. This diagram, no, you can just have a view overview of it. Here we have control registers, 4 control registers, top right leftmost corner. So 4 32-bit control registers here we have, and then followed below it we have 2 test registers, TR6 and TR7, both are 32-bit registers. And to the right side, top right side, we have debug registers. As I said, we have what, 8 debug registers, 32-bit debug registers. And below is your what, registers which are mainly used for what, memory management, or we call it as what, system address registers. So there you can just have it. So all are 32-bit in nature. Okay. So all are used. If you just have, you could just have, if you have a look, you can get able to understand. So all are used to hold the what, base address of the corresponding segments. So we will call it as what, corresponding LDTR. And moving to the last type of your register available in 80386. So this is the last register which is available in 80386. So your flag registers. So again, the flag register of your 80386 is a 32-bit register. So you can just have a look over it. So it will be having 32 bits. So among these 32 bits, I think from D18 to D31, from D18 to D31, and a few more bits, I think so. D15, D3, D5. So these and all are reserved by the Intel. Maybe if you for future they may use it for some other purposes. And D1 it is always what, 1. Just have a look at it, D1 bit. So it is always equal to 1. Okay. And if you have noticed this flag register, the lower 15 bits of this flag register of 386. So almost same as your 80286. Nothing new. So almost same as your 80286. So the only thing is here 2 flags are newly added to 80286 flag register here in case of it 80386. So those 2 flags are your VM and RF flags. So these 2 are the newly flags which are added in 80386 processor. So what about this RF? So what is it? It is just mentioned as what, resume flag. So what is the resume flag? So actually, if you see, means it is a first bit in the extended flag register. So am I correct? So 0 to 16 is a normal flag register. So and the extended is what, from 0 to 15 is your normal flag register. From 16 to 31 it is extended version. So if you see, means it is the resume flag is the first bit in this extended E flag registers. Okay. So actually the main purpose of this resume flag, it is used to hold with the debug register breakpoints. Okay. So which means at the starting of each instruction cycle, the status of this resume flag is always checked. So if it is 1, so any debug fault will be ignored while executing that instruction. Okay. So if it is 0, no issues. Okay, it will be, so this flag, no, it will be automatically, it will be reset after execution of the instructions except your I return and pop F. Except for these two instructions, for remaining instructions, after execution of the remaining instruction, this flag will be automatically reset. So there is one flag which is newly added in 80386 processor. And apart from this, we have another newly introduced is something called a VM, virtual mode flag. Okay, so when this flag has a name indicates virtual mode, and initially I said that we have three different modes. Okay, so obviously you can able to guess. So whenever this flag is set, 80386 will enter into virtual 8086 mode. Okay, so within the protected mode. I repeat, whenever this flag is set, your 80386 enters into virtual 8086 mode within the protected mode. Okay, so if VF is set, if simply in general language, if VF is set, 8086 operates in protected mode. Okay, when this flag is cleared or reset means 80386 will enter into what? Real address mode. Okay, so this is the main difference. And depending upon your data types, so previously I think your 80286 nearly supports around what 8 different types, data types. So here 80386 it also almost supports what more than more data types than 80286. So for example, it supports bit field, bit string, signed byte, unsigned byte, integer word. So integer word means nothing but is signed 16-bit data. So long integer, unsigned integer word, unsigned long integers. So characters, pointers, BCD, packed BCD, strings. So all these data types are supported by your 80386 processor. Okay. And moving on to the last topic in 80386 is your operating modes. So what are the operating modes available in 80286? There we have only two different operating modes. One is your real mode, other one is protected mode. So here, in addition to real and protected mode, we have what? Virtual 386 mode. So what do you mean by real addressing mode? Same as your 80286, so that you can guess. At least you can have a wild guess. So what do you mean by real addressing mode and what is mean by protected mode with reference to 80286? So in case of your real addressing mode, whenever I say real addressing mode, your 80386 can address up to what? 1 MB of physical memory. So using the address lines A0 to A19. Okay, repeat. In case of a real addressing mode, the 80386 can address up to what? 1 MB of physical memory using what? Address lines A0 to A19. So I think same point I have mentioned for you in 80286. Okay. So the remaining address lines will be what? Either it will be set 0, okay, or it will be not in use. Okay, and then so which means it works in the same fashion as 806, but in a faster manner. Okay. So in addition to it, since in this addressing mode, real addressing mode, the paging unit it will be disabled. Okay, the paging unit will be disabled. So these are the more operations that will be carried out in the case of your 80386 real mode. Okay. So when I move to protected mode, so what happens in protected mode? So 80386 can able to address all the 4 GB of physical memory. Okay, so here you have that option. So in addition to this, in addition, you can also it has a capability to support all the programs that are written for 80286 and 8086, and you can also execute those programs written for 80286 and 8086. Okay. And also in this operation, in protected mode operation, we have this memory management unit and the paging unit also enabled. So in case of your protected mode. Okay. So previously we see what is the function of this paging unit and all we saw. So the main function of this paging unit is converts your linear address into physical address. Okay. And then moving on to virtual 386 mode. Any idea you have? because the first two are same as your modes that you have discussed into 80286. Last one is a virtual 8086 mode. So in real mode, what I said, you can 80386 can access 1 MB of memory, similar to your 8086. Okay, where there will be no paging unit will be disabled. Whereas in a protected mode, it can able to access what all the 4 GB of memory. So all the 4 GB of memory can able to access with what certain added features. So here in case of this virtual 386 mode, okay, so it can able so in case we have first. Okay, let me explain. So in case of your virtual mode of operation, so 8086 node provides an advantage of executing your 8086 programs, although the processor 80386 is in protected mode. So that is the only difference here. So the address computation mechanisms in virtual 80386 model will be same as here 8086 real mode. Okay, so we can able, which means 80386 can address at 1 MB of physical memory. Which will be within the 4 GB physical memory of the protected mode. Okay, as well as the paging mechanism and production capabilities also will be enabled in this mode. So in simple, you can just say combination of the previous two modes. We call it as virtual mode. Okay, so these are 3 different modes available in 80386 processor. So this is all about your 80386. Okay, so I'll just see 80486 processor. Nothing much to discuss because almost all the features are similar to your 804386 only. So there are only minute changes in 80386. So we'll just touch up those changes alone, and then we'll complete this processor also. So again, it's a 32-bit architecture, which means it can support 8-bit, 16-bit, and 32-bit data types. And in additional, if you see, means what's the second feature? It's something new. So here we have 8 kilobytes of unified level 1 cache for code and data. So you know what is the purpose of cache memory? So faster access, execution time also will be less. For that purpose, we use cache memory. So here they have introduced first time they have introduced a cache memory, level 1 cache memory. So that cache can be used for code and data. Okay, mainly has been added to the CPU. So actually in the same 80486 advanced versions of this 80486 process, the size of this level 1 cache memory has been increased up to 16 KB. Okay, so initially it was started with 8 KB, and later in versions it has been increased up to 16 KB. And moving on to pin package 168. So your 80386 we have 132-bit package. Here it is 168 package, grid array package, which means like something like your square. So your IC pin for 8086 will be a dual linear package. You'll be having pins only on the two sides, left and right. But here no. In this case, it's something like a square, so you'll be having package like in all the sides. Okay, so it's a 168 pin, and then your clock frequency. So you can just look. So here I have mentioned the clock frequencies. Here your 8086 are available in different versions. So it's available in 25 megahertz, 33 megahertz, 50 megahertz, and 100 megahertz versions. So these versions are available in market. So obviously when you see this speeds, it's understood that execution time of the instructions is significantly it has been reduced. Okay, and one more important feature that I want to mention is, so in previous case we have instructions for load and store. So same instruction will perform load and store. So here also we have load, store, and arithmetic instructions we have. So all these can be executed in just one cycle. So when data is already existing, provided the data already exists in the cache. So with that condition, the data is already available in the cache. So load, store, and arithmetic instructions can be performed or executed in just one cycle. So just imagine the speed. Okay, and in addition to that, even your bus. So here also Intel 80486, it operates at a much faster bus transfers also available. Pipelining set again, it's available. So all these features, we have a 5-stage pipelining process. So two of this, so out of total 5-stage pipelining, out of the 5 stages, no, they are used for decoding. If it is used for decoding the execution purposes. So in this, we having what execution control unit. So what are the points that you'll discuss? So this, in general, so the same functionality does. So in addition to that, we have certain units present here. So something called parity generator control unit. So what is a parity generator control unit? Parity generator control. For I think, hope you have heard this term somewhere, parity, in your DPST. For what purpose we use this parity bit? For error checking purpose, I think you remember. So same is the case here. There's a parity generation control unit. It generates the parity, and it is used to carry out the checking process during a process, any processor operations. And boundary scan control unit. So what is the purpose of this boundary scan control unit? So again, it performs boundary scan test. I think you would have heard this term, boundary scan test operation. So which means that it will ensure that all the components on the circuit on the motherboard are working correctly. So it will just ensure that the correct operation of all the components of the circuit which are present on the motherboard. For that purpose, we use something called boundary scan control unit. Prefetcher unit, so it fetches the codes from the memory and arranges them in the 32-bit code. I forgot to say. So in previous case, we have only 16-byte queue. So here we have 32-byte instruction queue. Okay, you can also add that feature, 32-byte instruction queue. Instruction decoder theory. So it receives the code from the code queue, and then it decodes the instruction code sequentially. Okay, so and the output of this decoder will be fed into what? Control unit. Okay, so which will in turn will be used by the execution unit for execution unit. And register bank and ALU you can write on your own. So nothing new to you. So I'll just complete this, almost over. So bus interface unit, same as here, 80386. I think there is no additional feature, so you can just refer the same thing. So the additional feature that you have to notice here is a floating point unit. So the floating point unit and register banks of your FTP, so they communicate with your BI unit with the help of this memory management unit. So with through a 64-bit internal data bus. So 64-bit internal data bus. And the main purpose of this floating point unit is used for what? Mathematical data processing. So even your 8086 may do, but the only difference is it is FPU unit. It performs at a high speeds when compared to your normal ALU. So for that purpose, we use what? So all these registers, I think you can just, if you just compare the slides, almost same as, almost not, 99% it's same as your 80386. So I'll just rush all this. The only thing that you have to notice, here. Okay, the only difference that in the register set, I repeat, all the registers that are available in 80386 are available in 80486. The only additional register is available is your flag register. Only change in okay. So if you see the flag register, almost same. We are in addition to that, the bit number D is 18. So we have a bit called D18. So in case of your 80386, this bit is actually reserved by internal. Okay, so here, but we are using this bit. Okay, so this bit we call it as what? AC bit or alignment check flag. AC flag, alignment check flag. So so this is the only bit that has been added additionally in 80386, and rest everything is same as your 80386. Okay, so whenever this alignment flag bit is set to 1, so which means what? So there is an access to any misaligned address, okay, or and then usually a fault will be generated. So that is the only option, additional feature that has been provided in this okay, 80386, and rest everything will be same, okay. Okay, fine. So with this, I will end my class. So we have completed all the four advanced process. Next class we'll see. We'll discuss in general about your Pentium processor. Okay, so next level of your advanced processor. So if you have any doubts, you can just post your questions. Else, you can wind up the session.